Hey, friends. I've got another read with me that we're going to be starting today. It is called Rainbow History Class. So I live in an area where there's some anti-trans legislation being passed. There's anti-trans legislation being passed all over the country. I've seen firsthand how anti-trans legislation and LGBTQ legislation in general really harms and affects people's mental health and their overall well-being. And so I thought now, especially given what's coming up in like a week, now more than ever, it's important to learn their history so that we can be better accomplices, and so that the LGBTQ community knows a little bit more about their history as well, especially if you are just coming out or don't really have access to that kind of knowledge and stuff. So let's start this read with me. Rainbow History Class, your guide through queer and trans history. To those who fought for our community, thank you. To those who are just coming into our community, welcome. Let's get you caught up. Chapter 1, The Ancient World. Just outside of Carl lies the site of the Saqqara, which houses the necropolis, a kind of elaborate cemetery, for the ancient Egyptian capital, Memphis. The site is believed to have been the first stone building in the world, finished long before the pyramids of Giza. Egyptologists have made numerous discoveries at Saqqara that give us clues about the way humans lived nearly 5,000 years ago. However, in 1964, they discovered a tomb that left them baffled. The tomb appeared to be the burial place of two men who, according to the surrounding hieroglyphics, were royal manicurists named Kanutapnit and Nikanum. Definitely know I pronounced those wrong. My apologies. For such an elite tomb to be shared by two men of the same rank, rather than a man surrounded by his wife and children, was highly unusual, especially given that both men had wives and children. Now, 1964 wasn't a wonderful year to be homosexual, so naturally scholars concluded the two men may have been twins, even conjoined twins, or brothers at the very least. And of course, that's perfectly possible. There were no human remains in the tomb, so we have no way of proving or disproving a genetic connection. But brothers being buried together, let alone brothers who had wives, would have been unheard of at the time. There is, of course, another explanation, that the two men may have been lovers. It speaks volumes that the walls of Kanutapip and Ninkanum's tomb consistently depict the men in positions exclusively to husband and wife, always embracing and often facing each other with their noses touching, which is the most intimate pose seen in ancient Egyptian art. I love that. The pair are pictured front and center, with their purported wives appearing in the background in a manner that, according to some historians, suggests acceptance and even approval of the men's relationship. Historians and scholars have offered many explanations for these unusual finds, and it's impossible to entirely discredit these. But if the tomb of Kanutaptip and Nikanum contained man and woman, there would be no explanation required. Their marriage would be assumed. Remember, history is written through the lens of and values of the present. But if we take the clues presented to us, We may very well have documented evidence of same-sex marriage dating all the way back to the 25th century BCE. Like I and many people have always said, queer and trans people have always been around. Always. It's not just some new fad or trend that people are trying to hop onto. It's not mental illness. It's not any of those things. Those people have always been around and have always existed. And you, if you're an ally or an accomplice or even a bigot, probably have encountered queer and trans people in your life and not even known it because it's not a big deal. They're not a threat to you. All right, let's continue. Ancient Egypt is one of the world's oldest civilizations. Artifacts from the time tell us a great deal about life back then, when pharaohs reigned and eyeliner was rightfully important. On top of the evidence we've seen from this tomb, there are other indications that same-sex love and eroticism was common at the time, and even accepted. Ancient texts refer to women sleeping with women, and numerous artwork depicts women together with sexual symbolism. In Talmudic literature, ancient texts concerning Jewish law, sex between women was even described as the doings of the land of Egypt. That said, this doesn't mean these ancient Egyptians were homosexual, not in the modern sense. The concept of who you are attracted to forming part of your identity won't emerge for thousands of years yet. All right, since we did our introduction and stuff, and I was explaining why we're going to be reading this book together and why it's important, we're going to end it here for now, but be sure to check in because we'll be continuing this bit by bit, learning our history, learning the history of those around us, and committing ourselves to know more so that we can do more. All right, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time for Rainbow History class. Read with me. Bye.